Welcome everybody. Thank you very much for your participation today. My name is Victor Prada. I'm the Secretary of the Urbana Forum, and today we will discuss, we will have this knowledge for action activity. We'll share experiences on TR4 and Bunchy Top Virus in Africa. The objective of today's meeting, today's webinar, is to share experiences and challenges of African stakeholders in managing TR4 and Bunchy Top, showcase research efforts and response measures in key banana producing countries following these two diseases incursions, and then how we can strengthen multi-stakeholder cooperation, connecting Africa's efforts with the international community to collectively find solutions against this disease. Next slide, please, Adriele. Then, as is customary in our webinars and activities in the World Banana Forum, please turn off your microphone if you are not speaking. This is for panelists in this occasion, and this is a webinar. Interpretation is available. You can find the interpretation tab in the lower part of your browser. In Zoom, we'll have English, Spanish, and French. The meeting is being recorded, and the recordings will be available in our website maybe in 2-3 weeks' time. And please raise your hand if you wish to speak or post a question or comment in your chat box, and we will address your requests. Now, to read the agenda, I will ask my colleague, Mr. Benedetto, to present the agenda. Adriele, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Victor, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everybody. It's a pleasure to be moderating this webinar, Knowledge for Action, sharing experiences on TR4 and BBTV in Africa. As you can see on the screen, we have a pretty dense agenda, and we're very pleased to be surrounded by distinguished panelists today. We'll have the opening remarks delivered by the World Banana Forum Secretariat and the Plant Production and Protection Division of FAO and SP. Then we'll have a first set of panelists, starting with the experiences of NPPOs of TR4 affected countries, starting with Mozambique, followed by Union of Comoros and Mayotte. And then we'll finish this first set with a presentation from ASARECA on their capacity development activities when it comes to plant diseases and pests. We'll then have our first Q&A session, a pretty short one, but we'll make sure that every panelist gets a question. And we'll enter our second set of presentations, first with an overview of the work of IITA on BBTV and TR4, followed by a presentation from the Alliance Biodiversity International and SIAT on their work on BBTV in smallholder systems. Then we'll have a presentation from Stellenbosch University on innovations in diagnosis and research when it comes to TR4 in the African context. And we'll finish the second set with the perspective of a private stakeholder, commercial plantation or producer, sharing insights on the way they handle TR4. Then we'll have our second Q&A session, and we'll have the closing remarks from the Inter-African Phytosanitary Council that will wrap up the call, and this will be our webinar agenda for today. So I'd like to pass the floor back to Victor Prada, Secretary of the World Banana Forum, for the opening remarks, and then to NSP. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Adriele. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this important webinar again. Bananas and plantains, as you know, are far more than just popular fruits. They are staple foods and vital sources of nutrition for millions across Africa. They play a central role in food security, rural livelihoods, and even cultural identity. However, the sustainability of banana production is increasingly under threat. Two of the most serious challenges we face today are Fusarium Wilt Tropical Race 4, or TR4, and banana Bunchy Top Virus, BBTV. TR4 is a persistent soil-borne fungus that can destroy entire plantations with no chance of recovery, while Bunchy Top is a rapidly spreading viral disease that severely limits plant growth and yield. Both have devastating consequences, and both require urgent coordinated responses. And that's why the World Banana Forum comes into action. We are a multi-stakeholder platform operating for the last 15 years already. And then we are an inclusive platform. We have all the constituencies represented, from governments to research institutions, stakeholders from the private sector, from medium-scale growers to smallholders and big producers. So all of us work together for the betterment of the banana industry. And the World Banana Forum is precisely that. No, it's this multi-stakeholder platform hosted in FAO, and we work to advance on sustainability across the banana industry. So this webinar is organized under the joint action that we have in FAO on this TR4 Global Network, which is a cooperation or collaborative space for sharing knowledge, enhancing cooperation, and mobilizing collective action to address TR4 and Bunchy Top worldwide. Moreover, FAO supports countries and stakeholders in the prevention, containment, and management of plant diseases through its technical units, including the Plant Production and Protection Division. I will not go into details with the activities they are doing, because our colleague Mayotte Elkahky will follow my intervention, and he will provide the opening words and information on the activities they are doing in their division. Then we have the Commission on Phytosanitary Measures of the International Plant Protection Convention, and the IPPC, which has prioritized Fusarium Wilt TR4 as a global plant health threat. The IPPC designs and implements national strategies for TR4 prevention and containment. They conduct virtual training sessions on TR4 surveillance and emergency preparedness. It implements hands-on diagnostic trainings. They do simulations and tabletop exercises. They establish a plant health virtual campus, which now hosts TR4 training modules. And all of this is freely accessible, as is the mandate of the FAO, to MPPOs, national plant protection organizations, and stakeholders worldwide. We also recognize the vital work of the joint FAO International Atomic Energy Agency Center of Nuclear Techniques in Food and Agriculture, which helps member countries build capacity and diagnostics, breeding and biocontrol, and the contributions of FAO regional offices, of course, across Africa, Asia, and Mesoamerica. So all of these entities and different divisions and departments work together under the FAO umbrella to provide support to stakeholders working against TR4 or Bunchy Top virus. So today's session builds on our previous session focused in Asia, and today we bring together African experts to share their on-the-ground experiences and innovation in fighting or combating both TR4 and Bunchy Top virus. Their stories reflect both the scale of the challenges and the resilience and creativity of those working to protect banana crops. Our goal is clear, is to foster cooperation and collective action, deepen multi-stakeholder activities, and connect Africa's efforts to the broader global plant health community, all in support of sustainable, inclusive, and resilient future for banana production. So I'm very happy to see that we have already 178 participants in our meeting. Now, after this introduction, I would like to pass the floor to my colleague working in the Plant Protection Division, Mr. Mayotte Elkahky, who serves as Agricultural Officer for Locusts and Transboundary plant pests and diseases in the Plant Production and Protection Division here in FAO. As a plant pathologist with over 24 years of experience in academia and research at Mansoura University in Egypt and University of Florida in the USA, he is actively involved in strengthening national and regional capacities to prevent and manage plant health emergencies. His work, better said, spans multiple continents and focuses on transboundary plant diseases and pests such as fall armyworm, red palm wiggle, Xylella fastidiosa, Fusarium Wilt TR4, and banana Bunchy Top Virus. He is engaged in building the capacity of national stakeholders in areas such as surveillance, diagnosis, biosecurity, and contingency planning. So today, Mr. Elkahky will be delivering the opening remarks on behalf of the Plant Protection and Protection Division. Mayotte, the screen is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Victor, for this opportunity to deliver opening remark for this very important webinar. Dear distinguished colleagues, partners, and friends, it's a great honor to welcome you all on behalf of the Plant Production and Protection Division to this important webinar hosted by the World Banana Forum. Today's gathering is not just timely, it is essential. We are here to confront two of the most devastating threats to banana production in Africa, banana Bunchy Top Virus and Fusarium Wilt Tropical Race 4. Banana are more than a staple food in many African countries. They are a cornerstone of food security, biodiversity, rural livelihoods, and cultural identity. Yet, these two diseases are rapidly undermining that foundation. Over the past 3 years, Locusts and Transboundary Plant Pests and Diseases team of Plant Production and Protection Division has led the coordination of the efforts to confront these two diseases in Africa. TR4 is a silent invader. It persists in soil for decades, resistant to chemical control, and spreads through infected planting materials, water, and even footwears and soil. Once it takes hold, containment becomes an immense challenge. Although it is only officially reported in Mozambique and Comoros in Africa, it is a real threat for all banana-producing countries in Africa. BBTV, on the other hand, has now spread across multiple regions in Africa. Its impact is inside this infected plant become stunted, yields collapse, and entire plantation must be uprooted. In countries like Tanzania, Uganda, and Malawi, we have seen firsthand how BBTV can devastate smallholders' income and food supplies. These are not just plant health issues, they are development issues. They affect biodiversity, nutrition, trade, gender equity, and climate resilience. And they demand a coordinated and science-based and inclusive approach. Over the past 3 years, I had the privilege of working closely with many of the speakers today to strengthen our collective response. We have managed these two diseases with a very inclusive approach. We targeted young technicians in more than 20 African countries to train them on identification, sampling, and diagnosing banana Fusarium wilt. These efforts yielded in reporting the disease in Comoros, but this was not the end. FAO also supported Comoros to assess the situation and drafting an action plan that ended with a technical cooperation program to implement the containment and management plans. For BBTV, FAO approved the technical cooperation program for Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya. In February last year, I was privileged to deliver a training workshop in Tanzania focused on BBTV surveillance, diagnostics, and production recovery, using tools like PRAs and LAMP and digital platforms like ODK. FAO and technical partners trained national plant protection officers and extension workers to detect and respond to BBTV outbreaks in real time. This capacity building effort is already bearing fruit with improved field surveillance and more rapid containment measures. All these efforts led to the development of a BBTV eradication strategy in Tanzania, which about to be activated. All those activities wouldn't be possible without coordination with our technical partners. We have also worked to align our efforts with key partners, including Stellenbosch University and International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, and regional and national plant protection organizations in Africa. I want to acknowledge the leadership of colleagues like Dr. Altus Veliuni, Diana Mostert for controlling banana Fusarium wilt in Africa, and also Dr. Lava Kumar and Dr. Giorgio Mahoko in managing BBTV, whose technical expertise and commitment have been instrumental in shaping the regional strategies. Between 2023 and 2024, we convened 3 regional workshops, one in Johannesburg, South Africa, and the second one in Nairobi, Kenya, and the third one in Lomé, Togo. Throughout the workshop, 16 Southern African countries, 9 East African countries, and 12 Western and Central African countries were trained on how to develop contingency and action plans against TR4 and BBTV. These plans are not just documents, they are roadmaps for action. But we must go further. We need to scale up early warning system, harmonize diagnostic protocols, and invest in clean planting materials. We must also ensure that farmers, especially women and youth, are at the center of our interventions. And we must foster open dialogue among all stakeholders, including those with differing perspectives, to build trust and share ownership of the solutions. Today's webinar is a step in that direction. It is a space to share lessons, explore innovations, and forge new partnership. I encourage all of you to engage actively, ask questions, and think boldly. Let us remember the diseases we face are transboundary, but so too is our resolve. Together, we can protect banana production in Africa and elsewhere, not just for today, but for generations to come. Thank you so much for World Banana Forum colleagues for this opportunity, and thanks also for all speakers and all participants. Back to you, Victor.
Thank you very much, Mayotte, for the comprehensive and excellent intervention. I would like to now pass the floor to our chair, Adriele. So please let us know if you need any support. Go ahead.
Sounds good. Thank you, Victor. So without further ado, I think we'll jump to our first presenter, our first panelist for the day. I'd like to introduce Mr. Alfonso Sitole, which is the head of the pest surveillance and phytosanitary inspection and plant quarantine at the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development of Mozambique. He joined this NPPO in year 2000 and has since held various roles, including plant nematologist and coordinator of surveillance, pest diagnosis, quarantine, and phytosanitary measure. He has also contributed to international standards for phytosanitary measures, participated in the establishment of pest-free areas, and served as the editor of the IPPC portal for Mozambique. So today we'll have the pleasure of having Mr. Sitole present TR4 in Mozambique, current status, lesson learned, national surveillance, and containment strategies. The floor is yours, Mr. Sitole.
Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Alfonso Sitole, representing the National Plant Protection Organization of Mozambique. My presentation was prepared by me and Mrs. Antonia Vash, who is the head of the NPPO, and the plant pathologist engaged in managing this disease. This next one, please. Yes, my presentation outline will be the following: the introductions, the current situation of FOC TR4 in Mozambique, lesson learned, national surveillance and containment strategy of FOC TR4, and challenges. Next, please. Yes, for those who don't know where Mozambique is, I just want to bring here the location or the geographical limits of Mozambique. So Mozambique is located on the southeast coast of Africa. It shares borders with 6 other countries: Tanzania to the north, Malawi and Zambia to the northwest, Zimbabwe to the west, and South Africa and Eswatini to the south. The eastern border is the Indian Ocean. Next, please. Yes. First of all, I just want to say that my presentation will not go in details in terms of the biology, the contamination, and the other issues, scientific issue related to the disease. I will focus on the status and what is being done and what in the next. So sorry for that. I hope the next presenters who are research or expert on banana will bring this information. Yes, and for my introduction, I will share first the story of the disease from when it was detected in Mozambique. It was detected in 2013. And from there, main activities have been carried out, such as the survey or the limitation survey, training of technicians, farmers and producers, and the biosecurity measures were developed, and production of and the distribution of awareness materials, organized stakeholders association workshop. Many workshops have been organized in Mozambique about the disease, and also to engage the government with the advocacy were done with the leaderships, and the main studies on TR4 were conducted in Mozambique, including the social and economic impact and many other specific studies. Next, please. So sorry, don't go back, please. Sorry. So on the right, I just want to show where the disease was detected. If you see the red dots there, is where the disease is present in Mozambique. Next, please. Yes, the current situation of FOC TR4. As I said, the disease was detected in 2013. So from there, main activity have been carried out. Now, what is going is the biosecurity measures in the affected area. So this disease is occurring in very delimited location or farm. So the biosecurity measures are there ongoing, including disinfection of people, vehicles, and tools, use of tolerant varieties such as Formosana and the other varieties. IPM program is in place, which includes also the use of organic material, efficient microorganisms, Trichoderma. So the level of infection is in the farm is reduced drastically from the time it was detected until now. The infected banana plantation was affected severely by the cyclones in 2022, and the plantation was reduced. Next, please. So the remaining plants after the cyclone produce banana to sell in the local markets. We're no longer exporting from that site. We sell it in the local market. So the farm or the plantation introduces the other crops such as Costa. Costa is not, sorry, it's not pineapple, but it's Costa. It's Ricinus communis in scientific name. It's what is there. So half of the plantation which remains is banana, but the other half has been devastated by the cyclone. They produce costals. The disease is still contained in Nampula and Cabo Delgado province, where it was detected the first time. And the affected area is fenced and isolated from the residential areas. Next, please. So from the time it was detected until now, what we learned, what you can share with others is that the surveillance is crucial to monitor the disease and prevent the spread to new areas. Surveillance, you have to establish the surveillance program in order to monitor the disease, because you never know how fast it can spread, because we have the disease can be spread by the planting material, but also people can move the disease from one side to another. So it's better to have a surveillance program in place. We have also to coordinate with different stakeholders to ensure the joint effort for the containment of the FOC TR4. So the NPPO only itself cannot monitor or cannot manage the disease. It's better to join the effort with other stakeholders interested in banana, even including the local communities. So it's important also to have a local capacity for diagnostic instead of sending samples to other countries. That's the experience from our side. We used to send samples to South Africa or other countries for diagnosis. That is very expensive, and also you cannot get the results on time. So it's better you have local capacity to diagnose the disease, the samples. The awareness campaigns at the different levels are also a key communication strategy to ensure that the knowledge about the symptoms and management of FOC TR4. The community involvement is good strategy to reduce the spread of the disease, because from our experience where the disease was detected, although there is not close to the residential area, but there were people who used to use the path to cross from one side to another, so they could carry the pathogen from the farm infected area to other free pest area. So it's better to involve them, to let them aware about the disease, so to learn. And sorry. It is also crucial to develop a contingency plan to address the new pest outbreak of disease. And also the research support and the identification of strategies to manage the disease is important. And in Mozambique, we did many studies on these diseases to find out some specific of the disease. So it's better to involve those scientists to help on finding for some findings on this disease. Next, please. So, national surveillance and containment strategy of FOC TR4. We at least once a year we conduct a survey covering almost all banana production area as follows. All districts around the affected area in Nampula province and Cabo Delgado, sorry, is not there, but Cabo Delgado province also is infected. All commercial plantation, especially along the border with South Africa, because we export a lot of banana to South Africa. So one of our requirements is to, of the requirement of South Africa to export banana is to keep the area free from the fog TR4. All small-scale producers around the big farms. Samples are collected during the surveys and sent to the laboratory. And whenever there is a suspicion of symptoms, anytime samples are collected and sent to the laboratory for diagnostic. Next, please. Also, awareness material are continuously distributed. We continue to produce the awareness materials and we distribute in local language just to let people know about the disease, the diagnostic and the symptoms of the disease. Sorry. So now we have the Austrian Center of International Agriculture Research Funds, who is funding initiative aiming to develop biosecurity measures for small-scale farms. So we're benefiting on the project of ASEAR, which covers Mozambique, South Africa, and Tanzania. The project is testing local material for tolerance and resistance of fog TR4 collected throughout the country to be distributed to smallholder farmers. So the main activity is to first to develop biosecurity measures for small-scale farms. And other is to test the local material on tolerance or resistance for fog TR4. But also within the project, we expect to conduct awareness campaigns for TR4 diseases. Next, please. The country takes advantage of having natural barriers like rivers, where the inspectors control the movement of planting material from infected area to pest-free area. It's our advantage because our country is long and narrow, but also it has rivers crossing the country. So we put people, inspector there to control the movement of plants from the infected area to not infected area. Because we have a growing banana plantation in the south where the disease is not occurring. So we want to avoid the spread of disease to this area. That's the advantage of having this country with natural barriers. So the enforcement of biosecurity measure is supported by the banana growers located at the pest-free area who actively participate in controlling the movement of banana plants. Apart from our inspectors, also the banana growers help the NPPO to control the movement of planting material within the country. Next, please. Yes, we have challenge amen, but I just listed some in managing this disease. As I said, we conduct at least one surveillance annually. That's not enough. We were supposed to conduct 2 or 3, but because of the resource, we only conduct 1. But even this one is not for entire country. It's only located to the banana growing area. This is a challenge to maintain this program of surveillance. Another challenge is the implementation of biosecurity measures for the small-scale farmers. We know that it's not easy. The small farmers, the small scales, they have banana plantation spread multi-faced. So, and it's difficult for us to implement. Even those biosecurity measures we're developing under the project, we are not sure that we'll implement it in the small scale farmers. So that's another challenge. Local capacity for diagnostic. That's a big challenge. During some support that we had from USDA, we had our lab technician trained in South Africa, Stellenbosch University, and he is located in the province where the disease is occurring. But now we are facing problems because we have to continue having samples tested in the laboratory in the south. It's difficult for us. Our country is very long. It's difficult to send the samples to the north. Again, also, we're facing other issues related to specific reagents for TR4, specific reagents for TR4. So local diagnostic capacity is a challenge for us. So the avoidance of small-scale plantation around the commercial farmers. Yes, because we could realize that in the south where we have a huge banana plantation where the disease is not occurring, we can see some small-scale farmers bringing bananas, planting material. We don't know where they are bringing from. So this may bring the pathogen to the non-infected area. Is how to manage this, how to avoid them to not be there, because there are many. So this is a challenge for us. So the survey to provide data to the banana importing country. As I said, when we have to provide data, analytic data to South Africa in order to keep our importation of banana to South Africa. That is under our protocol that we signed with South Africa, that we should provide regularly data, analytic data of TR4. So that is a challenge for us because sometimes South Africa stopped us to export because of that. So that's a big challenge for us. Next, please. It's the last. And thank you. Muito obrigado. I hope I brought our experience. Sorry to be short. I have to manage my 10 minutes.
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation and for giving an overview of the status of the disease in the country since the first detection in 2013 and the series of measures that have been implemented and what's still left to be done. Before moving to our next panelist, I'd just like to remind the panelists to please keep within minutes because we really don't have much time. That would be very appreciated. And to the overall audience, that you can use the Q&A box to drop your questions directly, and panelists will be able to reply to them. So thank you for that. So I'd like to move on to our next distinguished guest, Mr. Hamza Abdou Azali, who is Director of the National Research Institute for Agriculture, Fisheries, and the Environment of the Union of Comoros, as well as being a professor and researcher at the University of Comoros. He's the author of several publications, and his work spans disease epidemiology, genetic diversity, geographic surveys and mapping, and germplasm characterization. And today he will be delivering a presentation on TR4 in his country. Thank you, Dr. Azali. The floor is yours.
Bonjour tout le monde. Merci beaucoup de nous donner cette opportunité pour présenter un peu la situation de la fusariose TR4 aux Comores. Diapo suivant. Donc, d'abord, une petite présentation de l'Union de Comores. Donc, l'Union de Comores est composée de 4 îles, à savoir Grande Comore, Anjouan, Moélie et Mayotte. Et ces îles sont situées du côté nord-est de la Mozambique et du côté nord-ouest de Madagascar. Donc, les îles Comores se trouvent au milieu. Diapo suivante. Donc, d'abord, je vais parler un peu de la place de la banane aux Comores. Donc, la banane, d'abord, elle occupe la 3e place des aliments de base aux Comores, derrière le riz et le manioc. Donc, sur le plan économique, la banane occupe une place vraiment importante sur le plan économique. Sur le plan social, la banane occupe une place vraiment une place importante également sur le volet social, car elle est utilisée dans toutes les festivités de mariage aux Comores. Donc, dans toutes les festivités de mariage, il faut qu'il y ait un plat de banane. Et à savoir, chaque année, durant le mois de août, juillet, août, et puis septembre, octobre, nous avons à peu près 4 mois ou 5 mois de festivités de mariage chaque année aux Comores. Diapo suivant. Donc, un peu la diversité de la banane aux Comores. Donc, nous avons une grande diversité de la banane aux Comores, à savoir, on a du Cavendish, on a du Gros Michel et on a également du Red Dakar. Diapo suivant. Donc là, c'est quelques images de la diversité de la banane aux Comores. Diapo suivant. Bon, maintenant, parlons un peu de l'identification de la Fusarium TR4 aux Comores. Donc là, l'identification de la Fusarium TR4 premier report a été effectué en 2023 et c'est durant une visite de terrain des agents et des chercheurs de l'INRAPE dans les 3 îles qui ont constaté la présence des symptômes apparentés aux fusarioses. Diapo suivant. Après ce constat de terrain, nous avons pris l'initiative de prélever des échantillons et de les envoyer au laboratoire de l'Université de Stellenbosch en Afrique du Sud. Et là, vous avez quelques images des symptômes. Vous voyez un peu un plant de banane attaqué par la fusariose. Vous avez du jaunissement et des feuilles en forme de gype. Et là, ici, vous avez des symptômes un peu sur le tronc de la banane. Donc, ce sont des photos prises aux Comores. Diapo suivant. Diapo suivant. De banane. Et ici, vous avez également des symptômes de la fusariose sur le tronc du bananier. Et vous avez qui? Donc là, l'identification faite à l'Université de Stellenbosch a été basée sur test LAMP et puis de la PCR classique. Donc là, vous avez les résultats. Première figure, vous avez les résultats du test LAMP qui confirment effectivement qu'on a des échantillons de Comores sont positifs. Et là, en bas, vous avez une photo prise pour la PCR classique. Donc là, vous avez un peu les résultats. Donc, je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails, faute de temps. Passez au diapo suivant. Donc là, sur ce diapo, nous allons exprimer un peu, vous montrer un peu la situation actuelle. C'est que la fusariose, actuellement, elle est présente partout aux Comores, dans les 3 îles, partout. Donc, ça fait depuis 2023 que le premier cas a été constaté. Donc, les missions de terrain effectuées récemment ont constaté que je dirais plus de 70% des plantations de bananes sont affectées par la fusariose TR4. Et ça, cette situation, on la retrouve dans les 3 îles. Diapo suivant. Donc, suite à ce premier report de la fusariose TR4 aux Comores en 2023, nous avons engagé quelques actions, notamment l'élaboration d'un plan d'action avec l'appui de la FAO et de l'Université du Stellenbosch. Nous avons élaboré un plan d'action et nous avons également élaboré un projet, un TCP, qui est soumis à la FAO vers le mois de décembre 2023. Et l'objet un peu de ce plan d'action, y compris effectivement dans le plan d'action, il y a un plan de surveillance. Et dans ce plan de surveillance, nous avons inscrit 4 activités. D'abord, continuer un peu la détection et l'identification de la TR4 aux Comores, en prélevant des échantillons sur le terrain, en continuant de surveiller, de prélever des échantillons et les analyser au labo. Bon, au passage, je tiens à souligner qu'aux Comores, notre laboratoire INRAPE est doté du matériel nous permettant, des équipements nous permettant de faire le diagnostic sur place. Mais seulement, il nous faut effectivement qu'on nous appuie en réactif, notamment en amorce, puisque nous avons une machine lampe et nous avons des machines PCR classiques. Deuxième activité inscrite dans ce plan de surveillance, c'est la cartographie et le monitoring. Donc ça, c'est une deuxième activité qui figure dans ce plan d'action. Troisième activité, c'est la collection des données. Donc, dans ce plan d'action, nous avons misé beaucoup plus sur la collection des données. Et quatrième activité, c'est l'activité de formation et sensibilisation des différentes parties prenantes, notamment les agriculteurs. Donc là, ce sont des activités inscrites dans le plan d'action et un plan d'action qui a fait l'objet du TCP que nous avons soumis à la FAO, que nous attendons effectivement le financement. Il y a eu un accord de principe de financement, mais jusqu'à maintenant, l'argent n'est pas encore débloqué. Nous sommes en attente de l'argent pour pouvoir démarrer vraiment les activités. Je souligne quand même qu'il y a eu quelques appuis de la FAO à travers le projet STOSAR qui nous a permis de commencer la sensibilisation en formant les agriculteurs. Nous avons dispensé des formations à la reconnaissance des symptômes aux agriculteurs locaux. Diapo suivant. Donc là, c'est un peu les méthodes qu'on va utiliser pour arriver aux objectifs fixés dans le TCP. Donc notamment les inspections de terrain, la collection des échantillons et l'analyse au laboratoire, l'utilisation du GIS pour la collecte des données, et puis il y a la participation et la formation des agriculteurs. Diapo suivant. Donc maintenant, nous allons mentionner un peu les challenges auxquels nous sommes confrontés. Donc nous avons listé quelques challenges. En premier lieu, il y a manque de budget auprès du gouvernement comorien, puisque, en fait, je veux dire, actuellement, il n'y a pas un budget alloué à la lutte contre la fusariose par le gouvernement comorien, malgré la délicatesse de ce problème, mais il n'y a pas un budget alloué. On peut comprendre puisque le gouvernement comorien fait face à des problèmes budgétaires, donc il a des priorités. Donc actuellement, l'activité de surveillance ne figure pas sur les priorités financées par le gouvernement comorien. Toutefois, le gouvernement comorien a mis le paquet pour essayer de demander des financements auprès des partenaires multi- et bilatéraux. Donc ça, c'est un travail que le gouvernement comorien est en train de plaider auprès des bailleurs pour nous appuyer financièrement à lutter contre cette maladie. Donc là, il y a aussi la capacité limitée des inspections sur le terrain, puisque, comme on l'a mentionné, il n'y a pas de budget suffisant, on n'a pas de budget, donc c'est très difficile pour nous de continuer la surveillance sur le terrain et continuer à prélever des échantillons, c'est très difficile. Donc, on fait ce qu'on peut, mais on n'arrive pas vraiment à avancer très bien sur ce plan de collecte d'échantillons sur le terrain. Il y a la formation et le renforcement des capacités des agents de l'INRAPE. Ça aussi, c'est un challenge, puisque effectivement, cette maladie, comme on le savait, elle est nouvelle au pays, et les chercheurs et les agents de l'INRAPE ne sont pas très bien formés pour reconnaître la maladie et pour pouvoir diagnostiquer la maladie. Nous avons quelques personnes qui sont formées, notamment actuellement, nous avons un chercheur ou un thésard qui a été formé à l'université de Stellenbosch pour l'identification et la reconnaissance et le diagnostic de la fusariose TR4. Mais à part lui, il n'y a pas d'autres chercheurs qui sont bien formés. Bon, moi, je fais partie de l'équipe. Certes, j'ai quelques connaissances en la matière, mais nous avons besoin de renforcer l'équipe en la matière. Donc là, il nous manque de budget également pour pouvoir renforcer ces programmes de formation. Il y a un problème également de logistique, puisque, comme on l'a souligné, l'Union de Comores est formée de 4 îles, y compris l'île de Mayotte, qui est actuellement sous administration française, mais les 3 îles autres sont un peu séparées. Donc, logistiquement, on a vraiment du mal à coordonner les activités de surveillance dans les 3 îles. Et puis, autre challenge, c'est l'isolement des petits producteurs, puisqu'au Comores, on n'a pas de grands producteurs de bananes. On a des petits producteurs et qui ont des petites parcelles, mais qui sont un peu éparpillées dans tout le territoire. Donc, dans chaque région, on trouve beaucoup de petits producteurs qui produisent de la banane. Donc là, en matière de gestion, en matière de logistique, c'est un peu très difficile à gérer ces petits producteurs, et d'autant plus qu'actuellement, peut-être il n'y a pas actuellement un petit pays comme le Comores qui est confronté à ce problème. Donc, l'expérience, peut-être qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup d'expérience en la matière. Donc, nous avons besoin effectivement de l'appui des experts pour nous appuyer, notamment à l'Université de Stellenbosch et la FAO, pour nous appuyer à gérer ces petits producteurs pour la surveillance et le plan de riposte contre la fusariose. Et enfin, ces programmes, parmi le dernier challenge, c'est le renforcement des capacités des agriculteurs eux-mêmes. Comme je l'ai mentionné, on a commencé ce renforcement de capacités, on a commencé à les sensibiliser, on a commencé à les former sur la reconnaissance des symptômes de la fusariose TR4, mais c'est un programme qui a du mal à continuer puisqu'on n'a pas suffisamment de moyens financiers. Et c'est très difficile de les faire venir, puisqu'il faut faire venir les agriculteurs à l'INRAPE pour les former. Donc, et aussi, des fois, il faut qu'on se déplace sur le terrain. Et on a des difficultés un peu financières pour pouvoir assurer tout ça. Diapo suivant.
Excusez-moi, monsieur Azali, nous sommes juste conscients du temps. Si vous pourriez déjà commencer à conclure. Je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup. Donc là, c'est montrer un peu les détails un peu sur les systèmes de production. C'est un système de production un peu qui s'apparente un peu à celle de Mozambique. Diapo suivant. Donc, là, en conclusion, je dirais que là, ça fait déjà presque 2 ans que nous sommes confrontés à cette maladie. Et faute de moyens financiers, on n'a pas pu vraiment mettre en place les actions qu'on aimerait bien mettre en place. Comme je l'ai mentionné, on a élaboré un plan d'action, mais on a du mal à implémenter ce plan d'action faute de moyens financiers. Nous sommes, comme je l'ai mentionné, nous comptons beaucoup plus sur le partenaire, notamment la FAO, pour pouvoir financer ce plan d'action et mettre en place des actions de lutte sur le terrain. Merci beaucoup. Merci, je vais devoir m'arrêter là, puisque là, effectivement, comme vous l'avez dit, le temps est
Merci beaucoup,
fini.
monsieur Azali. Je vous demande pardon pour le temps imparti qui est si peu. Mais merci pour cet aperçu. Je représente la menace de la fusariose pour l'Union des Comores, où la production des bananes revêt à la fois une importance culturelle, mais aussi économique, sociale, et majoritairement assurée par les petits producteurs. Vous avez mis en évidence les efforts de surveillance et aussi le défi majeur à la fin de la présentation que représente le matériel végétal infecté qui s'échange entre agriculteurs. et l'impact positif aussi du soutien de la FAO et d'autres acteurs de la région comme Stellenbosch Université pour la détection et l'action rapide pour la gestion de ces maladies. Merci encore et encore désolé pour vous avoir dérangé. On va passer au prochain. We're going to move to the next speaker of this first set. Very pleased to introduce Mr. Loïc Laroche, who serves as the head of Plant Health and Protection Unit and Ecophyto Project Manager at the French Directorate for Food, Agriculture and Forest in Mayotte. He has 5 years of experience on that island, and he's worked in the management of plant disease outbreaks, the enforcement of plant health regulations, and the control of invasive species. And today we'll deliver us a presentation on this particular pathogen on the island of Mayotte. Thank you, Loïc. The floor is yours.
Loïc Laroche, je travaille à Mayotte pour le ministère de l'Agriculture et de la Souveraineté Alimentaire. Donc, je vais vous présenter les différentes évolutions de phoque TR4 sur le territoire de Mayotte. Pour aller assez rapidement, je vais présenter le contexte de l'île pour ensuite basculer directement sur le statut actuel et ce qui a induit la surveillance locale et nationale, pour enfin mettre en évidence les mesures de gestion qui ont été prises et les leçons apprises et les perspectives actuelles. Donc, je ne vais pas m'étendre sur le sujet. Dr Hamza, mon cher collègue des Comores, a présenté déjà donc Mayotte qui géographiquement fait partie de l'archipel des Comores dans l'océan Indien, dans le canal du Mozambique. Donc, Mayotte est un département français qui est de taille assez réduite, donc moins de 400 km², avec une production de bananes qui est très proche de celle des îles des Comores voisines. Donc une agriculture vivrière sans exportation qui est tournée vers l'autoconsommation. J'ai mis quelques chiffres que vous pourrez lire plus ultérieurement, mais vous voyez sur la photo le jardin maorais typique, avec une association de cultures assez importante, que ce soit en termes d'espèces, mais également de variétés, tournées donc chez des agriculteurs avec une surface agricole assez faible et dispersée sur l'ensemble du territoire. Comme l'a dit mon collègue Hamza au Comores, on a un grand nombre de variétés différentes sur le territoire, des variétés locales endémiques de l'océan Indien, endémiques des Comores et de Mayotte, mais également des variétés hybrides importées, ce qui résulte à une production bananeraie qui n'est pas monoculturale et qui n'est pas tournée vers la culture intensive. Donc pour le contexte général, Mayotte a décelé la première détection de phoque TR4 en 2019 dans une région du centre-sud de Mayotte, ici le point rouge. C'était suite à une prospection qui avait été réalisée sur l'ensemble du territoire et des échantillons qui avaient été envoyés donc à l'université de Stellenbosch en Afrique du Sud. Et donc cette première détection en 2019 a donc induit diverses actions de surveillance. Et aujourd'hui, depuis ces 5 à 6 années de propagation de la maladie, nous sommes à 8 foyers détectés sur l'ensemble du territoire. On verra tout à l'heure que ces foyers sont répartis de manière très hétérogène, ce qui est notamment dû au contexte agricole et au contexte local. À noter que nous avons eu une résurgence en 2025. Il s'agit d'une détection positive du foyer initial, donc de 2019, mais que depuis 3 ans, malgré nos nombreux échantillons envoyés pour analyse, nous n'avons pas eu de nouveaux foyers détectés. Donc, ce qui peut amener au constat d'une faible propagation, si je puis oser, du pathogène sur le territoire. Donc, j'essaie d'aller vite, mais bien sûr, vous pouvez me poser des questions. Voici la carte de répartition des foyers qui ont été détectés positifs la race 4 de Fusarium oxysporum cubense. Donc, comme je l'ai dit, qui est réparti sur l'ensemble du territoire, avec des foyers éparses, que ce soit en termes de distance, mais également de type d'agriculture, parce qu'on a détecté ça chez des producteurs et des exploitations déclarées, mais également dans des jardins à maorais, donc chez des des particuliers qui possédaient quelques pieds de banana et qui nous avaient alertés sur des symptômes un peu uniques qu'ils avaient observés. Dans un second temps, donc, je vais vous présenter la surveillance qui a été mise en place et qui est mise en place donc, depuis cette première détection en 2019. Donc, outre un plan d'intervention sanitaire d'urgence qui a été mis en place, adapté au contexte local, on a également participé avec le ministère de l'Agriculture au développement de plans de gestion adaptés au territoire national et via des groupes de travail à collaborer avec les autres territoires d'outre-mer français, comme les Antilles par exemple, qui ont une production beaucoup plus importante de bananes et qui présente un enjeu fort de protection de contre ce champignon. Donc les premiers objectifs de cette surveillance étaient évidemment de cibler les agriculteurs pour communiquer sur cette maladie, de les former à la reconnaissance des symptômes et de préparer ces agriculteurs et l'ensemble de la profession agricole à nous alerter si des symptômes identiques étaient observés. Donc il y a eu des ateliers de communication, différents supports de communication dont je vais en présenter certains juste après. Et également une campagne de surveillance officielle qui a été mise en place par nos services du ministère pour réaliser des surveillances trimestrielles dédiées à la recherche du champignon sur un ensemble de prospections. Donc il y avait deux différents types de surveillance. Soit c'était de la surveillance lors de chaque déplacement sur le terrain, ou alors des mises en place d'actions de prospection globale, donc comme je peux le présenter dans cette diapositive, qui faisait l'objet là de formation des partenaires et des collaborateurs localement pour découper le territoire en plusieurs zones, participer à des actions de formation du personnel qui allait être mobilisé sur une journée pour parcourir l'ensemble de l'île à la recherche de symptômes externes, puis internes, de réaliser des prélèvements. Donc, il y avait un sachant par groupe qui permettait d'accompagner le groupe à la réalisation de ces prospections. Donc, pour ces prospections, elles étaient réalisées à minima 2 fois par an, avec l'objectif de surveiller l'évolution du champignon et potentiellement de découvrir de nouveaux foyers. C'est ce qui a permis notamment la réalisation de ces nombreux prélèvements. Donc, en ce qui concerne les mesures de confinement ou les mesures de gestion qui étaient mises en place, un certain nombre de difficultés étaient présentes localement du fait du type de l'agriculture, mais également de la typologie des bananiers localement. Donc, évidemment, les foyers, dès lors que les résultats étaient revenus positifs du laboratoire, nous mettions en œuvre des mesures de destruction de ces bananiers infectés, avec une consignation de l'espace, la mise en place d'un vide sanitaire et d'une protection de la parcelle infectée, la surveillance avec de nouveaux prélèvements aux alentours de ces parcelles-là, et la destruction des bananiers manuellement, puisque nous n'avions pas à l'époque de produits disponibles. Donc la destruction de ces bananiers infectés, la mise en contact de l'urée, d'une certaine concentration en urée pour tuer le pathogène et surtout le matériel végétal infecté. Et donc, a posteriori de la destruction de ces areas, de ces zones infectées, nous régulièrement revenions sur site pour contrôler l'absence de nouvelles plantations de bananiers, mais également les parcelles alentours si des bananiers étaient proches de cette zone. Donc, une fois de plus, je ne vais pas rentrer dans le détail, mais je me permets d'évoquer quelques difficultés que nous avons rencontrées pour la gestion de ce pathogène. Certaines ont été évoquées par mes collaborateurs au Mozambique ou aux Comores précédemment. Mais à Mayotte, une des difficultés, c'est d'identifier le propriétaire de la parcelle, d'identifier la variété et l'origine du plant qui avait été infecté, ainsi que le groupe génomique de temps en temps, puisque certains groupes génomiques ne sont pas forcément déterminée à ce jour. Et ensuite, l'accessibilité de ces plantes et de ces zones de plantation pour envoyer les échantillons qui devaient être analysés par le laboratoire de l'ANSES en France hexagonale. Donc, ce qui met un certain temps, et nous avons d'ailleurs dû faire face à des arrachages de bananiers par les propriétaires qui avaient constaté que ces derniers étaient morts avant même d'avoir reçu la confirmation de la détection du champignon, ce qui est assez délicat. Et enfin, en termes de destruction, nous avons eu quelques difficultés vis-à-vis des agriculteurs qui n'étaient pas forcément professionnels, qui demandaient évidemment une compensation financière pour la destruction, qui n'étaient pas réceptifs à la dangerosité de ce champignon, du fait d'une part de l'historique de sa propagation qui est relativement faible, et d'autre part du fait que cette maladie est une parmi les autres qui s'attaquent aux bananiers, et notamment la cercosporiose qui fait de gros dégâts sur le territoire. Et enfin, la destruction, puisque les produits disponibles sur le territoire, homologués par la réglementation française pour assurer la destruction des aires de contamination, sont pas satisfaisantes à ce jour. Néanmoins, il y a un certain nombre de points positifs que je peux vous présenter aujourd'hui. Donc, c'est des perspectives, mais aussi des leçons que nous avons pu acquérir ces dernières années. Donc, d'une part, c'est les différentes campagnes de communication qui ont eu lieu de la part, d'une part, du ministère de l'Agriculture qui a fait des campagnes de communication et qui ont été reprises par les différents départements d'outre-mer, que ce soit la Martinique, la Guadeloupe, Mayotte, la Réunion. Donc avec différentes campagnes de communication, que ce soit à destination des agriculteurs, mais également du grand public, pour éviter le fait d'échanger des rejets de bananiers, ce qui est une pratique très courante à Mayotte. Donc j'ai mis quelques visuels de communication avec des infographies pour la reconnaissance de la maladie, les moyens de dissémination, comment se protéger, ou alors quelles mesures de biosécurité est-ce que les agriculteurs et les propriétaires pouvaient mettre en œuvre pour lutter contre la propagation de cette maladie. Donc ça, c'est pour nous, le premier levier pour réduire cette propagation de champignons sur le territoire, c'est la communication et la formation des partenaires locaux. Donc, si ensuite je passe sur la dernière partie qui est les leçons, lessons learned, les leçons apprises et les perspectives. Donc, il y a différentes perspectives qui sont mises en place sur le territoire. Je ne vais pas développer non plus puisqu'il y a un certain nombre de projets qui sont en cours de recherche, en cours de développement, avec notamment un partenaire, le CIRAD, que j'évoquerai après. Là, j'ai juste mis quelques hypothèses sur le pourquoi est-ce que le champignon s'est propagé de manière assez lente sur le territoire. D'une part, l'absence de monoculture et de grandes fermes monoculturales de Cavendish, le nombre important de variétés différentes localement, et le microbiote du sol qui peut être une des hypothèses possibles via le jardin mauré, l'agroforesterie, l'association de cultures et de variétés peut être une des hypothèses qui explique cette propagation faible. Et enfin, parmi ces variétés locales et ou importées, certaines peuvent être tolérantes et ou résistantes à FOXP4, ce qui fait d'ailleurs l'objet de la dernière partie, donc les perspectives et les projets en cours de recherche pour avoir quelques réponses à ce sujet-là. Donc, j'ai centré les perspectives sur le projet RITA, Maosinza, donc qui est un projet du CIRAD, donc le Centre de coopération internationale en recherche agronomique pour le développement, notamment dans les territoires du Sud. Donc les résultats que je vais vous présenter sont en cours de validation, ils ne sont pas interprétables tels quels, et vous pourrez vous rapprocher d'eux si vous souhaitez plus de renseignements ou de moi-même ultérieurement. J'ai mis
Pardon,
informations.
monsieur Laroche, si vous pourrez déjà commencer à conclure votre présentation, s'il vous plaît. Je vous remercie.
Pas de souci. Je conclue sur les résultats. Donc, c'est ce projet-là a pour objectif de déterminer quelles variétés localement peuvent être résistantes et ou tolérantes à phoque TR4 et dans quelle mesure elles pourraient être utilisées à plus large échelle pour limiter la propagation, donc que ce soit des variétés locales ou des hybrides importés. Je passe cette slide. Et enfin, de tester également le test LAMP. Donc là non plus, je ne vais pas m'étaler. Il me semble que Diane de l'université de Stellenbosch pourra détailler le propos. C'est un test directement au champ pour évaluer la contamination par phoque TR4 de certains bananiers. Donc ce test va être testé localement à Mayotte pour donc faciliter la surveillance puisqu'il est utilisable au champ et donc faciliter la lutte. Et enfin, dernière chose, c'est la mise en place d'une thèse, donc encore une fois avec le CIRAD, mais également avec l'ANSES, pour évaluer la diversité et la dynamique de l'invasion de phoque TR4 sur Mayotte, avec l'objectif de reconstruire l'historique de contamination, même si on suppose qu'il provient du Mozambique sans preuve aujourd'hui, mais que l'arrivée en 2019 pourrait provenir de ce territoire proche, et d'établir l'évolution génomique de phoque TR4 sur le territoire. Donc voilà, je vous remercie, j'ai essayé d'être le plus concis et rapide, j'ai beaucoup d'informations à vous passer, je reste disponible pour toute question, et vous avez donc mon contact là, et mon LinkedIn, mon mail, donc voilà. Et encore une fois, merci à la FO pour nous inviter et faire partie de ce webinaire qui est des plus intéressants et des plus riches pour l'ensemble des participants aujourd'hui. Merci à tous.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur Laroche. Merci à vous pour cette présentation très intéressante. On a mieux compris le contexte agricole de Mayotte et l'importance de la banane sur l'île. Et il semble que les mesures mises en place depuis 2019, notamment un plan de gestion locale, des formations ciblées, des prélèvements par zone, des campagnes de communication, semblent porter leurs fruits, comme en témoigne le ralentissement de la propagation de cette maladie. Et comme vous dites aussi, la diversité génétique et végétale, l'absence de monoculture et la richesse des sols pourraient également être des atouts importants pour expliquer ce ralentissement. Donc, merci encore. We're going to now move to our next panelist and the last one of our first set, Miss Blaise Amony, who is a program officer for partnerships and capacity development at the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa, short-named ASARECA. She has over a decade of experience and has led efforts to strengthen capacity development across national agricultural research systems, focusing on institutional, systemic, and individual levels. Her work focuses on agricultural innovation, value chain development, and fostering public and private partnership. And today she will discuss the role of ASARECA in strengthening regional research and phytosanitary capacity. Thank you. Blaise, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Benedetto, for that very good introduction. Without wasting much time, let's go to the next slide. Okay. Yes, so ASARECA in full is the Association for Strengthening Agricultural Research in Eastern and Central Africa. It is a member-based organization that was formed by 15 Eastern and Central African countries. And we operate through 4 major thematic areas. The first one is transformative capacity strengthening and integration. The second one is agricultural transformation technologies and innovations. And then we also do enabling policy environments, functional markets, and transformative institutions. Then the last one is knowledge and information management. We also have cross-cutting thematic areas such as agroecology, climate change, gender and youth, fragility, and conflicts. Next slide, please. So basically, regional approach is very important when trying to address phytosanitary challenges. This is because the banana pests and diseases can spread across the borders, just like the previous presenters have mentioned. People move with planting materials across the borders through small cars or even motorcycles. When you go to the porous borders, you see them moving with these materials. So basically, a transboundary pest management is very important. So regional cooperation among countries is very vital. Then regional approach is also important for harmonization of regulations. Regional harmonization of phytosanitary regulations and standards facilitates trade while ensuring plant health protection. Next slide. Coordinated response. So basically, a regional approach allows for coordinated response to these pest outbreaks and reduces the risk of spread and its impact across different countries. Capacity development is very important at regional level so that people are able to learn from each other, just like we're learning from each other in this webinar, what different countries are doing to manage the pests and diseases. So basically, regional cooperation strengthens capacities and member countries to address phytosanitary challenges. It also helps us to optimize use of resources and avoid duplication of roles and efforts. And then it also has the economic benefit. So basically, ASARECA plays a vital role given the fact that it's a sub-regional organization that is working with 15 countries in Eastern and Central Africa. Next slide. So when managing the banana pest and diseases, especially the BBTV and TR4, there are 5 major components, just like other presenters have mentioned. Surveillance is very important. Then control of movement of planting materials within the communities or within the areas that are affected is very important. Then control of movement of these materials within the countries nationally, but also regionally is very, very important. Reporting or tapping into citizen science is also very vital. Then eradication through stakeholder engagement and awareness and use of bylaws is also very important. So use of clean planting materials is been mentioned already. So all these need actually the skill and knowledge. So for me to be able to even control the movement and stop the movement as a technical person, maybe in the countries or in the counties or sub-counties, I need to have the skill and knowledge to identify that this is actually a BBTV or TR4. So without awareness, creation for people to be able to identify the disease and pest, it's difficult. So next slide. So let's go to ASARECA's role and what we have done so far when it comes to management of these diseases and pests. Next slide. So ASARECA conducted phytosanitary capacity strengthening of stakeholders in the East African community on the banana pest and diseases. And these diseases actually included the BBTV and TR4. So 8 countries from East Africa were convened in Nairobi, and they were able to actually present on the different pest and emerging pests and diseases in their countries and how they are going about it. They were able to develop action plans, risk assessments, and they were also able to share experiences on how they have been able to manage and quarantine and conduct surveillance and monitoring in their countries. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yes, so in collaboration with researchers and institutions such as the Ministry of Agriculture in Uganda and also the IITA, ASARECA built strong BBTV surveillance task force and team. I'm sure some of them have joined the webinar. We have WhatsApp groups that keep reporting what they are doing on the ground. So that is a screenshot of the WhatsApp messages that keep flowing in the groups. And this is a picture of one of the motorcycles that was crossing the border from Uganda to DRC that was captured by the authorities at the border. Next slide, please. ASARECA also conducted a workshop where we were able to compile a comprehensive record of the institution's interventions, the policies and strategies in the management of invasive species. The invasive species are many, and BBTV is actually is also an invasive species. So we're able to have this workshop, and it was graced by Uganda's Minister of Agriculture. So basically, we are also involving the government and policymakers in some of our activities so that they are aware of these challenges and give us the political support, and also where need be, the financial support. Thank you. Next slide. We also formed a joint multi-stakeholder working group that looks out for any opportunities for support to the communities to enhance awareness, coordination, and interventions in the management of invasive species, including the BBTV and TR4. Next slide, please. So we basically collaborate with a number of partners. I forgot to mention Kabi is also one of the partners we are working with. IITA in Kenya, we also have KEFIS that supported us in an exchange visit where farmers actually went to learn. There was a farmer learning visit in Kenya, but also in Uganda. This picture was in Uganda, in Kasese district. So ASARECA contributed to also a validation meeting of the phytosanitary capacity evaluation report for Uganda. This was organized by FAO in Uganda. Next slide. So in the past, one of the key initiatives that ASARECA implemented was the community micro-propagation technology for multiplication of clean banana planting materials project. The project aimed to develop mass propagation methods for producing clean banana planting materials, which are essential for disease management. So basically, this was a very good project, and this technology is still being used up to now. It's a very good approach in trying to manage the banana pests and diseases. Next slide. Demonstration sites. So in that project, demonstration sites were set up in Tanzania to promote the micropropagation technology for multiplication of clean banana planting material. Next slide. So basically the lessons learned are farmers need to understand the importance of using clean planting materials, because most of these diseases, actually, there is no shortcuts. The main solution is use of clean planting materials to avoid a spread or transmission. Then there is also need for cross-border policy frameworks to facilitate the movement of the planting materials across the borders. Banana production also should be viewed as a business, not just for subsistence, to motivate farmers to adopt new technologies and innovations. Because when you go to the field, there are actually some farmers that grow banana just for home consumption. So they don't mind whether the disease is spreading across even to someone who is taking it as a business. So there is need to actually show the business need for banana pest and disease management, but also the importance of banana commercially. Then there is also need to address the issue of market access. Addressing the phytosanitary issues is important in ensuring access to international markets, that is the EU and the US. Next slide. So way forward is there is need for continuous collaboration in the fight against the banana pests and diseases. Collaboration is key, and there is need to leverage on the strengths of various organizations to avoid duplication of efforts. Then there is need for continuous resource mobilization. This is very crucial. And there is need to continuously advocate government support. Policy is important in trying to facilitate cross-border control mechanisms. Then there is also need to establish mechanisms to ensure continuous collaboration, knowledge sharing, and awareness creation about the different banana pests and diseases. Next slide. Yes, so I want to thank the partners, IITA, Kabi, FAO, the countries in Eastern and Central African countries. Those are the 15 flags, donors, EU, IFAD. Thank you, Asante. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Ms. Amony, for this overview of ASARECA's work. And I think it gave us a great sense of how regional collaboration and capacity building are helping member states and farmer communities to tackle these diseases. And I think very interesting, especially the BBTV surveillance network and task force, which was set up along the Uganda-DRC border, and also the farmer-to-farmer learning visits in Kenya and Uganda. I think that's a great initiative, and also the community macro-propagation technology project, which I think we could still learn a lot from. So thanks a lot. So I see that the time is running, and I'm conscious of it. So I think we'll sadly have to skip the dedicated Q&A sessions because we have interpretation covered until 5 p.m. Rome time. But we warmly encourage any participant that has a question or a doubt to post their question in the Q&A box. And I can see that there's a lot of questions being asked and already being answered. So we warmly encourage you to do that. But we will have to sadly already go to the next set of panelists. So I'd like to introduce our next distinguished panelist, Mr. George Mahuku, who serves as a senior plant pathologist for Eastern, Southern, and Central Africa. He is the country rep for Uganda at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA. His career is focused on plant disease resistance and genetic diversity, particularly in bananas, with research conducted across different locations in Tanzania and Uganda. And he has published extensively on major banana disease, including TR4, Black Sikatoka, and BBTV. His work also involves training and capacity development with farmers, trying to bolster resilience in banana producing systems in the face of climate challenges, especially. Today, we'll get the chance to have a presentation from George on IITA's work on BBTV and TR4 in Africa. Thank you, George. You have the screen.
Thank you, Adrio, for the for the introduction. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the World Banana Forum for giving us the opportunity to share some of the work that we are doing on BBTV and for TR4. So this work is really being done by many partners, and I'm just here to represent some of the work that they've been doing. Next slide. So the objective in this work is to protect bananas from invasive pathogens. So there are several types of work that we've been doing, activities, looking at delimiting surveys, trying to establish the extent of disease spread, surveillance and diagnosis, creating awareness, because if people don't know what they are dealing with, it becomes really difficult for them to manage the problem. We've been also advocating for bylaws. Blaise mentioned that, and quite a lot of it is going on. We've been working to provide inputs for the control and the recovery of banana production. And I can't emphasize this enough. Partnership is really very important. And then also coordinated efforts, because if we work in isolation, especially when we are dealing with the transboundary diseases, it becomes really difficult. Blaise showed a photo of somebody transporting plant materials across borders. So we need to really work together. If you look at the photos there, the one on the left is the BBTV. The top one, we took that photo in March 2024. The same field, we went back in December, and that's how it looked like. No banana, everything is gone. If you look on the right side, we have TR4. That was Matanuska before the disease. And then the bottom one, you see the impact that these diseases are having. Next slide. So when you look at this, in terms of the impact of these diseases, focusing on TR4, we look at Matanuska before, like in 2016, they were exporting about 90 containers, and this was reduced to 5 containers in 2017. You can see the volume of financial losses. And then Matanuska, realized that it didn't make any sense. It was not economically viable for them to remain in banana production. So they became insolvent in 2018. But that's one on the economic aspect. Then when you look at the social aspect as well, a lot of people were being employed, but because they could not produce banana, a lot of these people lost their jobs. Now, if you have people working on the farm, they also have families who depend on them. So you can really look at the magnitude of the impact that this disease has. And then if we look at Africa, if we have a situation like the one that we have on the photo there, take into consideration that the majority of banana production occurs in Eastern and Central Africa. You can see the volume that is being produced annually and the value of that production. Now, if we are going to have this disease and have that kind of devastation, you can just imagine the level of, the level of impact it's going to have, and also the impact that is going to have on the livelihoods of smallholder farmers who are our major producers of these crops. Next slide. So for, what have we been doing? I think one of the things that we have been doing, especially for TR4, because we know that the disease is in northern Mozambique, and Tanzania is a high-risk country. So we have focused on southern Tanzania to do some surveillance and also looked at the islands of Zanzibar because of their ties to the Middle East. We've been doing this since 2019, working together closely with the national partners and with Stellenbosch. And all the samples that we've collected, we have not detected folk TR4, which is good news. We continue to do this work. Similar work has also been going on in Mozambique. I think Alfonso talked about it, looking at specifically smallholder farms. And then they've not detected TR4 in smallholder banana farms. So it appears that TR4 is still confined to the 2 commercial farms that where it was reported in 2013, which is good news. So one of the things that we started doing is we need to make sure that our smallholder farmers realize the importance of or the impact that TR4 can have. So we've been doing a massive awareness creation, both in Mozambique and outside Mozambique. And recently we had a project that is developing some biosecurity measures that are suitable for smallholder farmers. Alfonso talked about the biosecurity measures that they are putting in at the farms. And he clearly pointed out that these are not suitable for smallholder farmers. So taking this into consideration, we started to work, with the support from Australia to develop some of these measures. And then we are at the point where we are going to be validating them with farmers to see, do they really work, and what are the things that we need to tweak to make sure that they can save the smallholder farmers and they have them prepared to deal with the risk of TR4 if it ever gets there. Next slide. So folk TR4 is one of those transboundary, diseases. We also have banana Bunchy Top Virus, which is, an invasive pathogen. This infects members of the Musaceae and Zingiberalis. Long distance, transmission or dispersal is through planting material. And then once they get into a field, aphids are always there wherever you're cultivating banana. Then we have this secondary, field, plant to plant, and from one field to the other being transmitted by the aphids. Right now, the bad news is that almost all the banana varieties that we have are highly susceptible to BBTV. We have our teams that are working to see if they can breed for resistance. We have them, they are working on that work. So we are hoping that probably in the near future, we'll get something. But this is a long-term effect because it takes almost up to 20 years to come up with a variety that can be produced. Next slide. BBTV was first, reported in Africa, in Egypt in the 1920s. And then there was a separate introduction or report in the 1960s in DRC in Kisangani. And then the spread of the virus into the rest of Africa is tied to the one that was reported in DRC. So since 2020, we have the disease spread to more countries now, with the most recent one being in Eastern Africa, Tanzania and Uganda, where the disease was simultaneously reported in 2020, 2021. Next slide. So what have we done there? So one of the things that we did was some delimiting surveys, to see where is the disease, how widely distributed, is BBTV in Uganda and in Tanzania. And then we also included Kenya because they have no reports for Kenya to do some preemptive, surveys. So what we realized was that there's sporadic distribution in the 2 countries. And then there's also evidence of jump spread, which is, if you look at all those red circles in Tanzania, which signifies that, human beings are the major culprits in the movement because they go to their rural areas, They see something that they like, and then they move it without knowing that this is contaminated with BBTV. So I think awareness creation is really important. And for Kenya, we need to keep it that way so that they don't get the disease. Next slide. Just to show you just a flavor of the impact of BBTV. Here is a farmer who used to produce about 150 bunches on his 1 acre land before BBTV came in. In 2023, when we visited his farm, that's the farmer with his field. You can see all the plants have BBTV. They are bunched up. He was trying to control, to cut it down, hoping that it will come back. But yeah, it was BBTV. And then when we went there, again in March of 2024, that farm, no bananas. There's no evidence that there was ever bananas. It's now growing other crops, maize and cassava. That's the impact that we have from this disease. And this is just one example, but everywhere where you have the disease, this is what we are seeing. Next slide. So one of the things that we have tried to do a lot is to build awareness. I think awareness is super, super important because people cannot manage what they don't know. Mega talked about all the different workshops, training sessions that we have had since 2023 together with partners. And then we started off by training extension workers and researchers. And then we soon realized that for information to get to the farmers who really need it, we needed to change the approach. So we've now started to do this peer-to-peer exchange of information, bringing farmers from areas that are at high risk, but they don't have the disease. They come to learn from their peers where the disease is. And then we've realized that once they see the impact the disease is having, they go back and they can start to disseminate information to all their peers. It has been very effective. You can see there, for Kasese in Uganda and also for Moshi in Tanzania. Next slide. And also, we have been trying to, we have developed lots of awareness materials. We have a guide that is both in English and Swahili that we have massively distributed. And right now we are trying to, to put that into, translate it into different languages so that they can use. We've also started to use, the reflector jackets with the Stop BBTV, logo. And also we have a QR code, and the QR code contains all the information that is required. And we realize that using this, people are curious. As long as you have a smartphone, you can scan that, and then you can go and see, people can read the information and disseminate it. We've done quite a lot of work, produced lots of posters, lots of flyers that we have massively distributed. And we've also started, using the radio talk shows. Blaise showed one of the photos where we were in Kasese in a radio talk show, and then farmers would give them the information about the disease. Farmers would call in and would fill the questions. And we realized that that's a very effective way of disseminating information. We are also using what we call jingles, which are short messages that are played on the radio. And then with this, people get to know what is happening, what the problem is. And if they see, it gives them information on who to contact. So all that is really going on and has really increased the level of the awareness about BBTV. And in addition to this, we have done lots of training in terms of recognizing BBTV symptoms, how to eradicate the plants, and how to, to recover. Also training on point of care diagnosis using the LAMP and PRA. And one of the things we realize is that, BBTV can only survive in a living plant. If the plant dies, the virus also goes. So it cannot survive in the soil, it cannot survive in the in plant debris. So that's why we are urging people to get rid of all the plants that are infected, wait for a period, and then you can recover banana production. Next slide. So one of the things that we've realized is that you cannot talk about managing BBTV without talking about access to clean planting material. And this is because this is the major route through which the disease is disseminated, from one area to another long distance. So we started to pilot this in Mwanza, in Ukelewe, an island that is completely devastated with the BBTV. We put up a macro propagator. We got some of the combs that were the varieties that they wanted from Kagera, where there's no BBTV. We indexed them or tested them for BBTV to make sure that they were clean, and we started producing these plantlets. So up to now, we have distributed more than 2,000 plantlets to farmers who had gone through the BBTV eradication. So we are monitoring to see how this model is working, and we are hoping to replicate it now and take it to other areas where we have the disease, because I think that would be the best way. We realize that some farmers are reluctant to eliminate infected plants, but then when you assure them you're going to give them planting material, then it acts as an incentive, and they do that. So we are using that, the access to clean planting material as a carrot to draw them to do the things that we need to do. Next slide, please. Can we have next slide? Okay. So what are some of those actions now that we need to take to prevent, TR4 and BBTV spread? I think a lot of people have talked about this. Alfonso have talked about it. I think, surveillance is really important, especially in the affected areas, to see how it's the status of, to have the status of the disease, and also to look at some of those high risk areas. Strengthening disease diagnosis and surveillance capacity is really important because we can't be there all the time. We have increased, awareness is really important because people cannot deal with what they don't know. Enhance access to clean planting material, strengthen the biosecurity measures that we've been developing. And I think collaboration and coordinated actions between countries. Blaise talked about the porous borders and what can happen. So if we really need to move ahead and work with this and deal with these diseases, we need to work together, people from different countries. Next slide. So I think this is the end of my brief, but there's a lot of work that has happened. And as I pointed out, IITA, we are working with a lot of partners and collaborators. And one of the biggest problems that we are realizing is that we don't have sufficient resources to be able to do all the things that we want to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahuku. Thank you so much for this insightful presentation on the work of IITA and its broad consortium of partners doing activities on the fields. Very impressive, the devastating impact of TR4 in Mozambique with this sharp decline in production and employment. And you also showed the current status of BBTV across Eastern, Southern, and Western Africa, and the key response measures that IITA is also promoting, including training, capacity development, awareness and advocacy events, including radio jingles, and the production of clean planting material as a key way of preventing the propagation of the disease. So thank you. I'm aware of the time. We're running quite late, and I want to thank interpreters for their kind support to this webinar, and kindly ask them if they could perhaps stay a bit longer with us. We have 3 more panelists ahead, so I kindly ask for the next panelist to really stay within the allotted time of 10 minutes. We are very grateful for that. I know it's not much to cover all there is to say, but there will be other occasions, and we appreciate it. So now moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Walter Osimati, senior scientist at the Alliance of Biodiversity International and CIAT, based in Uganda. He has over 12 years of research experience and more than 70 peer-reviewed publications, and his work spans banana disease epidemiology and management, crop agronomy, farming systems design, and conservation of genetic resources. And he currently coordinates research under the Plant Health and Transforming Agri-Food Systems initiatives of one CGAR in West and Central Africa, with a focus on banana pest and disease management. So today we'll present some of the work of the Alliance regarding BBTV, and specifically to the context of smallholder farmers. Thank you, Walter. You have the floor.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Adriel. And I want to take this opportunity to thank FAO the World Banana Forum for bringing us together to learn from one another, but also to network with colleagues. I think this is something that has been delayed and it's very important in the effort to fight banana diseases. Yeah, the work I'm talking about is being done by us with a large number of partners. And for this presentation, I also had my colleagues, Aman Bonaventure, Sebastian, Capensi, and Guy Bloom contributing. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. Yeah, I'll as much as possible try not to repeat my colleague George, with whom I've been working a lot on this aspect of BBTD. So the aspects of the presentation are already covered, so I'll skip them. Yeah, we already, one thing maybe I just want to emphasize is that unlike Fusarium wilt and banana bacterial wilt, BBTD cannot be spread with tools. And that's one advantage that we have. So the main ways of spread are through planting materials and the banana aphid. And one thing is the banana aphids play a role mainly in short distance spread, whereas actually the humans do play a big role through planting materials and taking it over longer distances. And once established, for the experience we have, it's very, very hard to eradicate, especially under some water settings. Next slide. Yeah, for those who are not in areas which have the problem already, the symptoms are not go much in these symptoms, but I hope you will have the presentation and you'll be able to look at the symptoms. But one key thing is that these symptoms are crucial for diagnosis because the early symptoms for BBTD are very hard to detect. Because of that, you find that actually most detections have been so late when the symptoms have advanced to more like the bunchy appearance of the plants. But the early symptoms will include dark green streaks on the petiole and stems, J-hook-shaped moss coats that you see aligning themselves along the adjacent to the leaf margins. And then followed with the yellowing of the leaf margins. And then finally, you see that the subsequent leaves that emerge become shorter and shorter, and they become bunchy in appearance. And the mature fruits often do not give us a bunch that's edible or sellable. Next. Yeah, the symptoms will vary from stage of infection, location, age, and variety. And we have noticed that actually the efficiency of the aphids spread and the virus establishment is lower at the higher and cooler altitudes. And we also have cultivars of bananas, especially ABBs, with those with B genomes that are tolerant and often delay symptom development. Next slide. Yeah, again, also they already talked about the spread of BBTD in the region. Yeah, before 2020, we didn't have BBTD in Uganda and Tanzania, but I think in 2020 we had this report in these two countries. And the more recent work we did where we brought together combined landscape suitability and the risk of introduction, so that actually most of the banana producing landscapes in Africa are very prone. They're at very high risk. And so there's need for a more proactive approach in addressing the issue of banana bunchy top in Africa. Next slide. Yeah, this has also been already mentioned by George. On the next slide, this is about the reports in Uganda. But maybe one thing to highlight here is that the disease in both of these countries has caused between 90 to 100% yield losses. And the impact is very severe on farms that are affected. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, sorry, go back. Yeah, I want to go a little deeper on the experience that we had in Uganda. And I think to give us a picture of the fight that we need to undertake when dealing with BBTD. We first confirmed BBTD in northwestern Uganda, that was in 2020. And quickly what we did was to have a rapid appraisal in the area that I was affected to confirm if the problem was widespread, and that was the situation. And immediately what we did was to develop communication materials, faxes, posters, alerts that we spread into the high-risk areas. That's southwestern Uganda, the eastern part that borders the part that borders DRC in the west. And in 2022, BBTD was confirmed in southwestern border with DR Congo. And this saw the importance of the awareness that we created through some of these materials. It enabled the partners, the local partners, the district staff to be able to quickly detect the problem and report it to the different and the relevant authorities. We formed a consortium of partners with MAIF and now at the forefront. And again, here it also highlights the importance of national partners to be crucial to be at the forefront of these campaigns. And together we conducted a delimiting survey in the high-risk zones. And this has catalyzed an array of efforts and activities. The survey has shown us where the issues are and has really helped us to catalyze a lot of activities within the country towards containing the problem. Some of these include developing ministerial information sheets, creating disease alerts, and go to the next slide. Initiating awareness campaigns, and all this helped us to try to curb the problem in the country. And one thing that we found was all the cultivars in the country were susceptible, including our popular matoke, the East African Highland banana. And the knowledge on the disease, its identification, its epidemiology, symptoms, was lacking among scientists, extension staff, and farmers. So it's not only a problem of farmers. The scientists too didn't know actually the disease. So they were interacting with it and actually didn't know that this was a problem. And then the form of seed exchange, mainly suckers, dominates the production landscape in Uganda. And this, we anticipate, if not addressed, can accelerate the spread of BBTV in the country. Next slide. We observed actually the problem of 9% of farms in both North and Midwestern Uganda. And surprisingly, farmers reported to have seen these symptoms on their farm between half to 5 years period, meaning that our detection was actually far late. And this could be because of lack of awareness on our part, or on the part of the farmers, but also on part of the extension staff who are in constant interaction with these farmers. So it again highlights the importance of a more proactive measure to ensure that our communities are made aware of impending dangers in the neighborhood. And the yield losses in Uganda are between 75 and 100%. And we did a risk map, which shows actually the suitability of the disease in the low-lying altitudes. And more so the areas where we have banana to be very important and be produced in mass also have been shown to be so highly vulnerable to the problem. And this has helped the country, MAIF, and the partners to prioritize the interventions within the country. Next slide. So BBT control efforts, a little about BBT control efforts in Uganda that have been led by MAIF. The focus has been on preventing spread in areas that don't have it, but the idea is to have a prevented spread and to prevent any losses due to potential infections. So through MAIF and partners, there's been an awareness creation of BBTV and BBTD, and this impact among extension policymakers, traders, farmers in these affected districts, and the main focus of these free zones. There's been an effort to strengthen border inspection, and there's also been training of extension staff, crop inspectors on disease diagnosis, epidemiology, and control, and there's continuous surveillance. And we have also developed the policy briefs targeting the policymakers on these aspects. Where the disease is already present, there are cultural control measures, biosecurity measures that are being promoted, and it is supported through training, through provision of materials that are training materials, fact sheets, and the focus has been primarily on logging of diseased plants, but also using clean planting materials in these zones. Social media platforms have been created to coordinate between the different partners and also to share experiences, training, awareness creation, and updates. I think one of them was said, one of the colleagues, where now we have regularly updates from the different borders or from the different regions about trainings that they're conducting about the interceptions of planting materials, where they can share photos of suspicious plants, and then scientists can be able to respond with advice on whether this is a problem or not, and possibly guide on the next steps. So current efforts are focused in southwestern Uganda, which is the main banner zone due to lack of resources, and these efforts needed to be expanded to the entire country. Policymakers still are not fully on board. I think there's a tendency of being more reactive instead of being proactive. I think we need to do more to get policymakers behind this effort. And then there's emphasis to integrate BBT management into district plans to bridge funding gaps for addressing the problem. I think that's one thing that I think was important, which arose from the training events, whereby the different district staff moved with this and made an effort to integrate this within their district plans so that they can be money allocated to address these key diseases. Next. Yeah, we also have done work in neighboring Rwanda, where we've also seen the disease move from Rusizi Valley, where it had been for decades, towards Kigali. Now it's prevalent in the areas around Kigali. And partly we attribute this to human movement, playing a major role in disease spread. And also there's a high risk spread now we've done from the mapping work we've done, the risk assessment we've done. We've seen that the production zones in the eastern part of Rwanda are highly prone, and the Rwanda Agricultural Board is making efforts to try to manage the disease in areas that are affected, but also they're trying to make efforts to ensure the disease doesn't spread beyond Kigali to these other regions. Next.
Mr. Osimati, we just are aware of the time and we kindly ask you to conclude your presentation soon. Thank you.
Yeah, in Burundi, we have seen more disease incidences on high altitudes. The disease will be more on low altitudes. And this is a sign of climate change impacting on the disease. So I think more of the highland areas are becoming more prone to the problem, and they need an effort to try to curb the situation. Next. So some of the actions we have done, we have developed a free online BBT course. This was in the framework of the Alliance for BBT Control that is being managed by IIT and by Varsity International. And this online free course has been available to different countries. And at the moment, as I speak, I think there's an effort by FAO, AUIA, SPS to upgrade this and to make it free and available to more users. Next. Also, we have come up with the digital tools that we integrating within the production systems to detect diseases. One of them is Tumaini app. With Tumaini app, we're able to detect 6 diseases, including Bunchy Top, and it's in 5 languages. And there's also demand for it to be translated in other countries. And this app is in interface with Google. And we're hoping that we are going to be able to increase this interface such that with this app, we can have monitoring of the disease in real time. And our national partners could potentially use this as a dashboard to track alerts in different parts of the countries and be able to respond on time. The app has over 15,000 downloads. We also have the UAV, next move on, UAV imaging and machine learning, where we're using drones. This has been developed and is at the point of having it be scaled out and scaled out for use. On BBTD resistance, currently there are no edible cultivars in Africa that are resistant, but we have identified sources of resistance in the BB genomes and the ABBs. I think the key challenge is now the next step of introducing this resistance into the edible genotypes. And as George had mentioned, it's a challenging task because the effort has to ensure that the culinary attributes of the banana are retained. Next. Yeah, within the framework of the Learning Alliance for BBTD Control, there have also been a lot of activities that we have done, epidemiological studies that we have conducted that are also relevant, especially for the ongoing work, especially in terms of the different innovations that are generated through these studies that will inform disease control in Africa. in general. Next. So we also have work on going studies on the ecology of banana aphids, and also a special focus on the winged aphids, use of bioresonance to control aphids, look at the impact of cultural management practices on the aphid population, which plays a huge role in disease spread. We also look at the potential impact of BBTD in Uganda, trying to model scenarios of policy response and disease control measures, and also characterization of BBTD isolates and screening for BT resistance. Next. Next, you can skip that. Yeah, I also want to appreciate the different partners we work with. The list is long, including learning institutions, then the district, the national research institutions, district production offices, and donors. We want to appreciate them for the support that they offer towards the work. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simati, and thank you for this interesting presentation on the work led by the Alliance. And you've outlined the great mapping and surveying work of the Alliance to show high-risk areas. And you also shared Uganda's experience since BBTV was confirmed in 2020 with awareness campaigns, border inspections, training of extension staff, all the measures that were taken. I think of particular interest is this free online BBTD course available to extension staff, students, and scientists developed by the Alliance for BBTD Control. I think this is an interesting resource, as well as the Tumaini mobile app, this AI-based tool that's able to detect 6 banana plant disease and to track on live tracking diseases and yeah, connecting efforts together. And I think this is very interesting. And lastly, you shared some ongoing research work streams and research lines, including drone and machine learning for detection, resistant cultivars, impact of cultural practices on the population of the aphid vector, and so on. So thank you again for this brief but very rich presentation. And now I'm aware of the time. I'll move quickly with Director of Agronomy at Compagnie Fruitière, where he oversees agronomic strategies across the group's banana operations. Trained as an agroeconomist at AgroParisTech with a specialization in agricultural development, he brings a multidisciplinary background combining agronomy, economics, and rural development. And his professional experience covers academic institutions, NGOs, research centers, and private companies. And at Compagnie Fruitière, he works to strengthen sustainable production systems and manage plant disease risks across the value chain. Today, we'll share with us a producer perspective on Fusarium Wilt TR4 and the impact on banana production in the Ivory Coast specifically. Thank you for being with us. You have the floor.
Ok, merci pour la présentation. Je m'appelle Aurélien Pugeot et voilà, je travaille pour le groupe Compagnie Fruitière en Côte d'Ivoire depuis quelques années et je m'occupe de tous les aspects agronomie et recherche. Ce que je vais vous présenter aujourd'hui, c'est quelles sont les mesures qui sont mises en place en Côte d'Ivoire par rapport à la prévention du Fusarium TR4. Diapo suivante. Déjà quelques chiffres pour planter le décor sur la banane dessert et la banane plantain. La Côte d'Ivoire est un gros producteur de bananes dessert avec 450 000 tonnes produites, dont une majorité exportée chaque année, ce qui contribue à environ 60 000 emplois directs et indirects. C'est une filière qui est structurée autour de trois grands acteurs aujourd'hui. La Côte d'Ivoire, c'est aussi un pays producteur de plantains avec 2 millions de tonnes produites chaque année. Voilà, il faut prendre ces chiffres comme des ordres de grandeur, étant donné que certaines sources datent un peu. Donc environ 2 millions de tonnes de plantains, 300 000 petits producteurs. Et c'est une filière qui est en cours de structuration aujourd'hui. Ce qu'il faut retenir, c'est que voilà, banane dessert, banane plantain sont deux secteurs stratégiques pour la Côte d'Ivoire, à la fois en termes d'export et de souveraineté alimentaire. Diapo suivante. Je vous fais un bref historique de la prévention de la TR4 en Côte d'Ivoire. Avant 2020, il y avait peu ou pas d'actions concertées. Chaque acteur voilà, avait quelques moyens de prévention mis en place, mais chacun un peu dans son coin. Et à la demande de la filière banane dessert et à travers la fêtière, le FIRCA, le Fonds interprofessionnel pour la recherche et le conseil agricole, il y a eu un atelier qui a été animé par le CIRAD, qui avait trois objectifs, qui étaient informer et sensibiliser les différents acteurs, former au diagnostic et surtout co-construire un plan d'action au niveau national. Voilà, cet atelier a un peu été l'élément fondateur de la prévention concertée en Côte d'Ivoire. Et donc de cet atelier ont découlé plusieurs actions, notamment des plans de prévention chez tous les grands planteurs de bananes industrielles en Côte d'Ivoire, et aussi la création d'un groupe de prévention au niveau national qui réunit les acteurs étatiques, la recherche et les producteurs. Diapo suivante. Donc, je vous présente brièvement où est-ce qu'on en est dans ce plan de prévention national qui était structuré autour de 7 grandes recommandations. La première qui était de renforcer la législation phytosanitaire, notamment avec des réglementations d'import de matériel végétal aux frontières, d'échange de matériel végétal. Un deuxième volet qui était le renforcement des capacités nationales par rapport au prélèvement, à la détection et l'identification de la maladie. Un troisième volet qui était l'analyse de risque, encore une fois au niveau national, pour être certain que les réponses soient à la hauteur des enjeux. Un quatrième volet sur la communication, sensibilisation auprès de tous, le grand public, les producteurs, les agents aux frontières, les pépiniéristes. Les actions 5 et 6 qui étaient la mise en place d'un réseau de surveillance et d'un plan de contingence au niveau national toujours, qui permettent donc à la fois de détecter et prévenir et agir en fonction de différents scénarios, notamment en cas de détection de maladies en Côte d'Ivoire. Et le dernier volet était un volet au niveau régional, en considérant qu'une réponse efficace et à la hauteur devait se faire au niveau de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, qui est une région productrice de bananes plantains notamment importante. Ce que l'on voit, c'est que on a beaucoup avancé sur les volets formation, communication, surveillance, avec des actions déjà engagées depuis 2023 et toujours en cours aujourd'hui, mais que certains volets du plan d'action ont été très peu abordés. C'est notamment le renforcement des capacités nationales, l'analyse de risque et la mise en place d'un plan de prévention au niveau régional. Diapo suivante. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut retenir de ce plan? C'est qu'aujourd'hui, il y a un engagement certain de tous les acteurs, mais qui est encore largement insuffisant par rapport aux enjeux. Le budget à l'époque avait été estimé à environ 2 300 000 euros, et aujourd'hui, les budgets annuels sont compris entre 100 000 et 150 000 euros et sont assurés à 100% par la filière banane dessert. Donc, on voit qu'il y a quand même un décalage certain entre voilà, ce qu'il faudra, ce qui serait nécessaire et ce qu'on est capable de faire aujourd'hui. Les actions, comme je l'ai dit, ont été surtout menées par l'État, hein, via les agences décentralisées du ministère de l'Agriculture, auprès des agents au niveau des postes frontières, des douaniers et des producteurs, aussi bien plantains que les plantations industrielles. Ce sont des actions de sensibilisation et de formation à la détection de la maladie qui ont été conduites. Cette année, en 2025, on espère tester des kits de détection rapide qui ont été récemment mis en place par le CIRAD. Hein, c'est récent, ça date de mai 2025. Donc, on veut tester ces kits qui permettent d'avoir des premiers résultats, des premières estimations, on va dire, rapidement. Et on voudrait également tester des prélèvements et des envois à blanc à Stellenbosch University pour vérifier qu'on est capable d'envoyer rapidement des prélèvements dans un laboratoire de référence et d'estimer et d'évaluer le temps de réponse de mise à disposition des résultats. Le dernier point, c'est la mise en place d'unités de désinfection à l'entrée de chaque grande plantation industrielle, hein, qui fait partie du volet biosécurité du plan de prévention recommandé par le CIRAD. Donc ça, c'était au niveau national. Quel est le plan de prévention au niveau de SCB? Donc SCB, c'est la filiale du groupe Compagnie fruitière pour laquelle je travaille. On a 5500 hectares de bananes dessert et on représente environ 7000 emplois formels directs. On a également un laboratoire de vitroplan qui s'appelle Vitropica Africa, basé à Abidjan, et on produit environ 4 millions de plants chaque année, qu'on est capable de garantir indemne de TR4, bien sûr. J'y reviendrai. Au niveau du plan d'action SCB, on l'a fait en fonction de trois situations. Un niveau 1 qui est la maladie n'est pas détectée en Côte d'Ivoire, qui est de la prévention pure. Un niveau 2, dans le cas où la maladie serait détectée en Côte d'Ivoire, mais pas à SCB, et un niveau 3 où la maladie est détectée sur un périmètre SCB ici en Côte d'Ivoire, avec un volet toujours prévention et un volet confinement de la zone touchée. Diapo suivante. Au niveau du module de prévention, on peut dire que les bases sont assurées, c'est-à-dire qu'on a une gestion très rigoureuse des visiteurs externes, où chaque visiteur doit, en amont de sa visite, remplir un formulaire digitalisé, qu'un nombre restreint de personnes valide, donc on valide la visite ou pas, et on définit si le visiteur est à risque ou pas. C'est comme ça qu'on filtre les visites des visiteurs externes. On a des dispositifs de désinfection des chaussures et des pneus des véhicules à chaque entrée des plantations. Chaque année, nous formons 100% de nos employés à la détection des symptômes et on fait des sensibilisations chaque année de 100% de nos employés à la Fusarium TR4. Et on essaye de respecter les règles les plus strictes quant à l'utilisation du matériel végétal. Aujourd'hui, quasiment 100% du matériel végétal qu'on utilise est produit avec notre laboratoire Bitropic Africa. Donc on est certain de disposer de matériel sain produit ici en Côte d'Ivoire. Diapo suivante. Toutefois, dans ce module de prévention, dans ce plan de prévention, il y a encore de nombreuses améliorations, nombreux challenges à relever. Le premier, c'est qu'on a des plantations qui sont réparties en différentes zones du territoire ivoirien. Et le plus souvent, on a des voies publiques en fait, qui traversent nos plantations. Donc, en fait, c'est impossible de contrôler 100% des mouvements des riverains, notamment, étant donné que c'est des voies publiques qui traversent nos plantations. Nos unités de désinfection à l'entrée des plantations, elles existent, mais elles sont imparfaites. On a le projet d'améliorer ces unités de désinfection afin de garantir leur fiabilité à 100%. Les formations, sensibilisation qu'on dispense, ça concerne uniquement les employés nos employés de la SCB, mais pas les riverains. Donc ça serait aussi un volet qui serait important de développer, sachant que la plupart des riverains, ils sont producteurs de bananes plantains. Et donc, ça aussi, c'est un problème pour contrôler l'ensemble du matériel végétal des plantations villageoises qui sont tout autour de nos plantations. C'est quasiment impossible de contrôler à 100% ou de façon fiable ces mouvements de matériel végétal. Toujours dans les challenges à relever, aujourd'hui on a la capacité, on est formé, on a une procédure pour identifier les plants suspects en plantation. Par contre, on n'a pas encore vraiment testé voilà, toute la chaîne, c'est-à-dire le prélèvement, l'envoi dans un labo de référence et le temps mis pour avoir les résultats. Donc ça, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut qu'on arrive à tester chaque année. Dans nos plantations, on utilise de la matière organique pour faire des amendements organiques, hein, notamment de la parche de café, de la parche de cacao. Et aujourd'hui, on ne contrôle pas ces matières organiques qui rentrent en plantation vis-à-vis du TR4. Et enfin, une des difficultés majeures, c'est que tous les grands planteurs de bananes dessert en Côte d'Ivoire pompent leur eau d'irrigation dans le même fleuve et rejettent leur eau de drainage dans le même fleuve. Et donc ça, si jamais voilà, la maladie se déclarait en Côte d'Ivoire, ça serait une contrainte majeure parce que ce serait très compliqué de désinfecter les volumes d'eau qu'on utilise pour l'irrigation. Et nos systèmes de drainage sont quasiment impossibles à, à isoler. Diapo suivante. Voilà, pour terminer, je finis avec la slide et le message qu'on fait passer autour de nous, aux riverains, à nos employés. C'est la menace pour la sécurité alimentaire et l'agriculture ivoirienne est aujourd'hui une réalité à laquelle nous devons faire face tous ensemble. Et on est convaincu que sans une réponse au niveau national, concertée entre les différents acteurs, incluant à la fois la banane dessert et la banane plantain, on risque de ne pas avoir une réponse à la hauteur des enjeux pour préserver l'agriculture en Côte d'Ivoire. Je vous remercie.
Merci à vous, Monsieur Pujol, et merci pour cette belle présentation et d'avoir partagé le point de vue d'une grande plantation commerciale quant à TR4, dans l'un des principaux pays exportateurs de bananes d'Afrique et de plantains. Et vous avez présenté le plan de prévention nationale élaboré à la suite d'un atelier mené avec le CIRAD, et à la fois les mesures entreprises à échelle de SCB, pardon. Et je pense des points particulièrement intéressants que j'ai pu relever, c'est le laboratoire de production vitropique. 4 millions de plants libres de fusarium chaque an, c'est impressionnant. Aussi ces kits de détection rapide mis au point par le CIRAD, Ça paraît très prometteur et ça sera super intéressant de voir comment ça se passe. Également, la mise en place d'un plan d'action fondé sur 3 scénarios à échelle de SCB, donc absence de TR4 en Côte d'Ivoire, présence dans le pays, mais hors SCB et détection au sein de SCB même. Et enfin, les mesures de terrain déjà en vigueur en termes de biosécurité, mais aussi l'utilisation de matériel du réseau mondial de la RT4, de la FAO. Donc, on est très content de voir ça, que ça puisse être utilisé à échelle du terrain. So thank you again. Now I'd like to go back for the last presentation of this important webinar. The last intervention will be conducted by Ms. Diane Mustard, which I introduced earlier, but I will briefly say it again. She currently works as a researcher in the Fusarium research group led by Professor Altus Viljoen within the Department of Plant Pathology, and her research centered on the detection, evolution, diversity, and migration of invasive fungal pathogens, with an emphasis on biosecurity and plant disease management. So thank you, Ms. Mustard. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm sorry about the connection issues earlier. It seems the devil is at play. Thank you for the opportunity to present today on our research. I'll focus a lot on the diagnostic parts, as I only have 10 minutes to do this presentation. We are involved in many research activities on the African context, but I'll focus a lot on our diagnostic work. So let me just see. No, so currently Stellenbosch University is regarded the center of excellence for Fusarium Wilt research on the African continent. And we do quite extensive research, which includes the development of molecular markers, the identification and characterization of FOC populations. We have a very large culture collection, and we offer the service also mostly free for many countries to send samples to us for confirmation in case they have a new incursion. And in addition to that, we also do a lot of population, looking at the population dynamics of FOCs. And we also do screening for resistance. There was quite a few questions on these things I saw in the Q&As. I won't have time to go into all of it, but you guys are very welcome to contact us if you have any questions on many of these aspects. And then we've been involved the last 10 years, I would say, a lot on the continent on training and capacity building, which Mayotte has touched on quite a bit in his introduction. So I won't go into too much details, but we've gotten a lot of support from NSP in this regard to really work on capacity building. As many of the presenters have said, this is a very important aspect. And then we also play a role in regional collaboration between the different institutions. As many of our colleagues have noted, most of the presenters, we are working closely together with many of these institutions. And as we know, Fusarium wilt is caused by the soil-borne pathogen Fusarium oxysporum specialis cubense, which causes this lethal wilting, which is very devastating. And I have to mention, I think most in the audience would understand that, but that FOC occurs in different races. And race 1 has been on the continent for quite a long time, but TR4 is the one that we are currently very concerned about, as it's causing this epidemic on Cavendish, and it's only localized in Mozambique, Mayotte, and Comoros at this stage. Despite all our efforts and looking at it in many countries in the African continent. And the problem is that it produces this resilient chlamydia spores, which can persist in the soil for decades, which makes management extremely challenging. So we look at the scenario because we don't believe there is a one-size-fits-all strategy to really manage this pathogen. So we look at, is it there? If it's not there, then we work a lot on prevention and awareness materials. If it's localized, early detection and containment is crucial to prevent further spread. And in this case, I'll be focusing a lot on this in this presentation. But containment is extremely difficult and costly. So you really don't want it. We really need to, and this is what this webinar is also trying to do, is to make people aware about the devastation of this disease. And of course, if it's widespread, the only option is to replace susceptible bananas with resistant ones and to implement practices that can lower pathogen inoculum load in the soil. So we are involved in all of these aspects of management of the disease, but I will be focusing mostly on detection today, as this was requested. So what do we need to reliably diagnose FOC? Well, usually during surveillance that countries are doing, whether or not that's monitoring or trying to find the disease, they will scout for symptomatic banana plants. But this is kind of limited because the symptoms can be easily mistaken with other biotic and abiotic constraints. You have to be quite specialized to really see or to distinguish this from other constraints. And the other concern is also that the symptoms may appear months after your initial infection, and then the spread has already occurred. So the gold standard for diagnosis really is molecular detection assays, which include PCRs and qPCRs. And there's many protocols out there, and I will talk about that a bit in the next few slides. But what we really want to recommend is that when there's a first incursion, so when we find the disease for the first time in a country, is that detection is supported with additional techniques. This can include, really, it needs to include the isolation of the pathogen and then doing VCG testing, sequencing, and pathogenicity testing. So this is very, very important if we find the disease for the first time, that we make sure that we have a reliable detection. So why can't we just rely only on molecular detection? Well, most of the molecular assays that are available, they usually rely only on a single gene. And these genes are usually, if we look at all of the molecular markers, they are in this part of the Fusarium oxysporum genome. The genome is compartmentalized into the core and accessory genome. And most of the markers have been designed in this region with conserved function. So many of the oxysporums that cause disease to other crops, as well as non-pathogens, have very high sequence homology in this region. And this has been the case in this study by Freddie Makdama, where he found some of these endophytes are so closely related in the IGS region. And that's why the markers that was designed based on this region pick up false positives. So we really want to try and look at markers that also is designed in the region that's linked to host-specific pathogenicity. So something very important to consider. Then furthermore, you really need to look at how these markers were tested for specificity. And what we have with FOC is that it's quite a diverse forma speciales of oxysporum. It's polyphyletic, there's many VCGs, and as I've mentioned, you can also find these non-pathogens and other closely related Fusarium species when you isolate from infected material. So when you're selecting a molecular detection assay, you really need to understand the complexity and what you should test your molecular markers against. So that's why we've been working quite a lot on improving the robustness of these type of detection assays. And we have quite a few, a lot of genome data available that spans the entire diversity of FOC. So with this comparative genomic approach, we really can select gene targets that are very specific for the target that we're trying to identify. So I'm just highlighting two of our molecular assays that we've designed. The one is a multiplex PCR, and this one targets the FOC race 1 strains that are very common in East Africa, so it can rapidly ID that. And then we've also worked on a qPCR assay that can identify the three different races that is present in the African continent. But when we talk about these molecular detection assays, we unfortunately still rely on expensive equipment, and it's still defined or confined to the laboratory space. So there is these new type of techniques, which they call isothermal detection techniques, where amplification takes place at a single temperature. And this can either be LAMP, which occurs at 60 to 65 degrees, or RPA. George and others have mentioned that they also use RPA for the BBTV detections. And these are really nice because they're less sensitive to plant inhibitors. So you can do a more simplified DNA extraction protocol. It is quite sensitive, so similar to qPCR, and you can do it quite rapidly. And ultimately, what we want is that these type of detections can be done at the point of care, so at the infected plant. So these do offer that capabilities to us, these two different techniques. So with that in mind, we have had a long-standing collaboration with CIRAD and with one of our colleagues, Dr. Isabel Robin, and she has come to Stellenbosch and spent 2 years with us. And the focus of this project was to design LAMP assays for the 4 different most important vascular diseases of banana, including Fusarium wilt. And during this project, what we did is we really looked at designing a robust marker through a comparative genomics approach that we did in collaboration with CIRAD Montpellier as well. We had a postdoc working on that. We really tested it very well. We tested it in field. We did vast specificity testing, and we also looked at an interlaboratory test between different laboratories to really look at the reliability of this assay. And the assay has been developed into a commercial kit, but this is basically how the workflow is. It's really easy to do, and in the kit there is the molecular or the master mix with the specific primers, and it can take around 40 minutes, and then you have an answer. But it obviously, how we used it is we used the Genie 2 OptiGene machine to run this, but you could also obviously use any other portable fluorometers. Then we've also ventured into something more recent. So most of you would know CRISPR from gene editing, which is quite commonly used in the gene editing for gene editing principles, but it's more commonly used now for detection as well. So the Cas12a is an enzyme that can target the double-stranded DNA. So you can engineer the guide RNA to be complementary to whichever target you have. And if this enzyme then recognizes your target, it starts cutting first your target DNA and then any other nucleases in the mix. And then you can include a reporter molecule. And when it's cut, you can measure the fluorescence. And with this principle, we've designed a CRISPR detection for TR4. So it's a one tube solution where you do the RPA, you start with an RPA amplification in the lid. So everything is included in the lid. You incubate that, you centrifuge it to mix it, and then the CAS reaction happens in the bottom. And this could be done rapidly, sensitively, and specifically in a single tube system. And naked eye visualization was also possible without this machine. And the benefit of this technique really is that there's specific RPA markers, and the CAS reaction with its guide RNA that specifically targets your target is also specific. So it does improve on that specificity issue that I've mentioned in my previous slide. So if you want more information about this, you can consult our recent paper on that. And with that, I want to say thank you for the opportunity again. We work with many institutions, like my colleagues have said, and I'm sorry I couldn't attend to all of the questions, but if you are welcome to contact us on questions about containment, resistance screening. We are involved in projects with IITA where we're looking at screening some resistant varieties, African varieties, and to look at their resistance, because that's a very important factor for the African continent. With that, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Master. Thank you so much for this presentation and the work of Stellenbosch University with a focus on diagnostics. You gave a great overview of the different detection techniques which are available, for more simple ones like LAMP assays to more sophisticated ones like CRISPR technology, and highlighting the importance of accurate, timely, and robust diagnosis to make sure that then the entire machine starts going and the management practices change. So we're coming to the end of this webinar. We have the closing remarks that will be delivered by our final distinguished guest. So before wrapping up, I would like to pass the floor to Mr. Saliu Nyasi, who serves as the coordinator of the Inter-African Phytosanitary Council of the African Union. So this is a specialized office of the African Union that works to prevent the introduction and spread of plant pests across the continent. Also works to harmonize standards, promote safe plant protection practices, and support member states, especially in strengthening their capacity and fostering international trade. So thank you for being here with us and for this last intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adriel. Thank you so much to all the participants and all the presenters and the speakers, the organizers of this event. I wouldn't like to take too much time, but I would say this. Fusarium TR4 and banana bunchy top really continue to have a significant impact on our economies and food security of countries that produce banana, but not only for them, but countries that do consume banana as well. So these two diseases from this workshop seems to have been around for quite a long time. And at least BBTV has been in Africa. I think from the presentation of Mahuku, you will hear that it was here since 1960s. And from the presentation of Sitole, you will hear that they have been TR4 since 2013. That's quite a long time. However, over the years, we have to recognize that a lot has been done. A lot has been done actually to contain these two pests. National plant protection organizations, research systems, academia, international research organization, and of course, the able leadership of the FAO, which I would like actually to really congratulate for having this ability to mobilize people around what is going to help, to provide solutions for our population. You all have worked tirelessly to help us really manage these challenges. We must really acknowledge also the support from IITA, as well as Stellenbosch University, and many really for their commitment to our member state as African Union. At the African Union Commission, particularly at the Inter-African Phytosanitary Council, we have benefited from a technical cooperation program from FAO. And with this program, we have been able to develop training materials. We have conducted training sessions, and we have been also able to develop actually a proposal which was funded last week by the STDF to help actually at least 10 member states, banana producing member states, to contain BBTV. And I believe that it's the same people who are involved in BBTV who are definitely going to be also involved in the prevention and the containment of Fusarium TR4. So this workshop actually aimed at basically three things: sharing experience, showcasing research, as well as bringing a multi-stakeholder team. So it has truly achieved its goal. And I think you can all congratulate yourself. Unfortunately, we are not in a room, we would have clapped for ourselves. But as we conclude, I just wanted us to remember that the work that we do is for our people. And the knowledge that we generate must be put at the disposal of our people and our country, regardless funding opportunity or funding availability. I would like to highlight maybe a few key points, takeaway, that we must perhaps, take home with us. First of all, we need to continue to create awareness through strong communication campaigns. I think all the presentation, one word that everybody has mentioned is awareness creation. I think you could go check back your slide, you'll see that all speakers have talked about awareness creation, which means that it's a key thing actually to resolving the problem. Number two, we need diagnostic capacity. I think that is also something you have to be able to detect and to identify and to diagnose the disease. And I think Jane has mentioned about two technology, the LAMP and the other one that help actually to facilitate. So research must continue actually to help developing new diagnostic kits. Thirdly, we need to enhance collaboration. Why? Because through collaboration, we can develop supportive policies, because no country can pretend to contain the disease, especially when it is a transboundary disease. So policy needs to be intervening, and we need to harmonize also. But also, what is important is data sharing, because from this presentation from Mozambique, you will hear that they need to have data that they need to supply to their major importer, which is South Africa. So if all countries generate data, perhaps this data will help develop risk maps or other, prevention measures that could help. Number four, we need also to reinforce our surveillance, mapping distribution of pests and movement of plant materials, because people have to, produce safer materials and then be able to maybe to eradicate or to contain some of the disease. Finally, let us not underestimate what we have achieved so far. Perhaps it is because of this tremendous effort that we are still enjoying banana. Yes, TR4 is a threat, it's a serious threat to our livelihood. But with the combined recommendation from this webinar and our shared commitment, I'm confident that we can contain its spread and protect this vital crop for generations to come. Thank you all for your dedication and your active participation. Thank you so much, Adriel, for inviting me.
Thank you, Mr. Nyasi, for these powerful last words, and I think it's a great way to conclude this webinar. I want to thank you, everybody, every attendee, but especially also extend my deepest thanks to our panelists who provided some very interesting information today. Thank you for your patience. We definitely went a bit overboard, so I also want to thank the interpreters who stayed with us. Thank you so much for this extra hour almost. And of course, to the entire team of the WBF Secretariat and other FAO technical units who are also very instrumental in making this webinar take place.